Hey guys, I hope everyone is having a great day. So just came across a fantastic story. Rural areas in Zimbabwe are going to be getting more network base stations. You may know them as network base stations. You may know them as Mabusta. You may know them as network towers. But essentially that infrastructure, those large towers that send network to our phones, more of them are going to be going to rural areas. So how does this work? I came across this story on Telecoms, by the way. Those guys are fantastic. Of course, I'm going to say that because I used to work there. But if you want to learn about, business and technology news, especially in the context of Zimbabwe, things that are happening in Zimbabwe, those guys are great. But anyway, let's get into this story. So POTRAZ, who happens to be the regulator, mobile networks, anything to do with network really in Zimbabwe, those guys are the regulator. They have a program that's called Tower Relocation Project. So how does this work? Apparently, they take a booster that they see is being underutilized in an urban or semi-urban area. They take that and then they dismantle it. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how it works technically, but they take it, they break it down, and then they ship it to a location. In this case, a rural location or like a border community where they don't have as much network infrastructure, and then they build it back up. Thankfully, what I'm reading here is that these towers are solar powered, because if you don't know, one of the things that happens in Zim is the further away you go from urban areas. So I'm in Harare, and we don't have the best power situation, of course, but trust me, people who are outside Harare, like Kumamisha and in these rural communities, border communities, they have it way worse than you, way worse. So these towers being solar powered is a big plus, because it means for most of the day, I suppose it means you're going to have network, right, if you're in these areas. So this project, the Tower Relocation Project from POTRAZ, is already apparently underway, and so far 30 towers have already been relocated and switched on. And apparently some of the communities that have benefited include Sinamusanga, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Sinamusanga and Binga, Jerera and Zaka. I was there a couple of years ago. The network is terrible. I was there for 3 days. Kwang Sinama gets the entire 3 days. I think we only saw them once. So you can imagine. It was bad to the point where people in this community actually, when I was speaking to them, they were saying they would rather have feature phones, or what we call mbuti, the basic phones, because the smartphone runs out of battery too quickly. So they prefer to have like simpler phones. But yeah, they're one of the beneficiaries. Apparently there's another community called Ruwange in Nyanga that's benefiting. And then there's Nyamu Sele in Kurube. Those guys are also benefiting. So why is this important? So basically, if you've traveled outside of like urban centers, you notice that as you travel, the further away from urban centers you go, the worse your network gets. So this project is probably gonna address that. If I'm putting this to you in a statistical manner or giving you data, look at how network coverage works. Essentially, 2G, which is the most basic, what you basically need to make a call or text, that covers 76% of rural populations in Zimbabwe. 3G covers 72% of rural populations in Zimbabwe, which is still okay, but not as good as it should be. And then 4G shockingly covers only 25% of rural populations in Zimbabwe. So these base stations are apparently going to be providing 2G, 3G, and 4G network, and then they work. It's one base station, but then it's shared by all three service providers. So that's your Econet, that's your Net One, and that's your Telecell. I almost always forget Telecell, because who remembers Telecell? But anyway, all three will be using one tower, and hopefully now that this is the case, we're going to see that population coverage increase for stuff like 4G and 3G. And look, man, the more people who come online, who get to access these services, I think it's just generally a great thing for the country, but even for guys like me who are content creators and sharing content online, and for businesses, even for those communities, man, we can get to see how people in those communities are living and get to see their own experiences online. So this is a great story.